name is Martin, and I'm the creative director at Coldwood and the creator of Unravel. Unravel is a physics-based platformer where you play as Yarny, this little character made of yarn. And you're attached to the start of the game, and as you try to reach the start of the game, you begin to unravel. And the goal is basically to try to make it all the way to the end and basically tie this red thread to the whole thing and connect the start with the finish.
So where did the idea come from for Yarny and Unravel itself?
It was, it's all very symbolic. And I just basically had this thought that when you love someone, or when you love something, you form a bond with it. And I just figure, like, what if that was an actual, real, physical bond? What if it was like yarn? There are many stories about, like, for instance, the Japanese tradition of the red thread of destiny, or other, like, just it's kind of like a phrase, the red thread that runs through everything. And I figured I wanted to make a game where you were that red thread. You were a character who was made from that stuff. You were basically on this kind of mission to try to reconnect people and tie them back together.
Yeah. So it's very strong symbolism. Is there any other kind of symbolism and metaphor that runs throughout the game?
Yeah, there's tons of it, but also the thing is that I don't like to talk too much about it because, I mean, it's kind of, I guess it's weird to use symbolism when you tell everyone exactly what the symbols are. It's more like that's for players to figure out and basically interpret the way they want to do it. Because, I mean, it's not for me to tell them what to feel or what to think. It's just basically, I just provide them the arena to do it.
And that arena is the real world, and it being set in the real world kind of gives it a very tangible but almost a kind of dreamlike quality. Was that part of the idea?
Yeah, very much so. I mean, part of it was that we wanted to create, we wanted to take scenes from, like, basically from our own environment, from our own backyard. We wanted to take places that matter to us, places that we understand and that we're close to. Because the whole game has this very personal touch to it. So it just makes sense for us that the levels should be very personal as well. But I think also the part about making it realistic is that then as a player you can kind of read it and understand how it works, because it's all physics-based and everything has like this weight to it and this like physical feel. So you can kind of, sometimes I think that video games have a tendency to be kind of abstract, that you don't really know what things are or what they do, but most of the time in Unravel you can look at something and kind of figure out, like, you know, I could probably use that in this manner because, I mean, it's a real live object.
So it's all physics-based and stuff. Was that quite a challenge to have that working with yarn and so many different objects?
Oh yeah, it's a fun challenge though, but it's definitely, I mean, it is very dynamic. And I love that part. I love that it's so responsive. Like, you can interact with it in many different ways and it just kind of behaves the way you expect that it should. So it becomes sort of like this little sandbox where you can try different solutions to things and just basically fool around with it, have fun with it. And it's very satisfying to move around with it because it's so physical. When you get like that momentum going, when you're swinging on the back yarn and using the lasso and stuff, it's just very satisfying to play. But it's also completely like grueling to test it, because anything really can happen and does happen frequently. So we have to try to, you know, find a balance where it's fun and responsive, but also like not totally broken.
Yarny himself is quite versatile. He can do a lot of things. He can attach, make tight ropes and things. And the character himself is quite kind of minimal, but he has a charm to him. Where did the design for and the inspiration for Yarny himself come from?
The interesting thing, it's actually one of those things that I kind of just like made. I didn't really think about it that much. I made it when I was out in the woods with my family camping. And I really had very little tools to work with or anything like that. So I peeled some metal wire off an old anchor cable to a boat and built a skeleton from that. And then I managed to borrow some yarn that I wrapped it up with. And so I basically just kind of like scavenged materials and built it. And when I was done with it, it was like, you know, it's done. I'm not going to change this, because it's one of those things where you kind of stumble onto something, but it just happens to be exactly what it should be. Because I think oftentimes it's good to iterate on things, but sometimes it's good to not do that. It's good to, sometimes like the first take is the best take, you know. And in this case, I think it's just like, I mean, I looked at it and said, yeah, it's Yarny. I'm not going to do anything more.
What point did you look at Yarny and think he could be the hero, a star of the video game?
Well, basically when I was out there taking those pictures and posing Yarny in all these different ways and trying all these different moves and doing all that stuff, as I was doing that and as I was looking at those pictures, I think it was already at that point where it kind of dawned on me like that this actually, it is something, it has something, that there is something there that it just works. It kind of like, I react to this very strongly, and I have just like the feeling that other people will do too. And it's kind of proven to be like that people really connect with this little guy.
Yeah. Has it been quite exciting then to, I mean, first debut the game at E3, then again at Gamescom? Is it quite a journey for you?
Oh, for sure. I mean, it's a huge deal for us. And I mean, we've been working on it for like 2 years now, and it's one of those things where, I mean, E3 to me, it was like, the funny thing is that people think I was really nervous, and I was. That's true, but most of all, I was like really, really excited about it, because it's kind of like Christmas morning, you know? You have the greatest little gift that you want to give someone and you want them to love it, and it's like, look at it, it's so nice, come on, open it, open it, open it. So that was like, it was a huge moment, really. It was awesome, and it felt like such a relief to finally like being able to talk about it and show it off and like, let everyone see what it is.
And just, I guess, validation that, you know, a little guy like Yarny and a game like Unravel, you know, can, you know, win such a big response with an audience as well, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I guess it's a bit unusual. I mean, certainly in that press conference, I think we were kind of like the odd one out. But that's also really good to know that this industry has gotten to this point where like there's room for all kinds of different games. There's room for all kinds of different gamers too, and I think that's beautiful that we're finally like acknowledging that, and you know, that allowing that to happen. I think that's a really cool thing. The game is out when it's done, and hopefully that's going to be quite soon.